Torre.
Good morning to everybody. I'm honored to be here today to do this presentation about the cyber terrorism and the navigation and the transport systems. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and CESMA, and the University of Torre, Professor Chaka, and Professor Rosillo. I don't see him now. However, I will try to go fastly. You will be able to receive my presentation completely after the meeting, I suppose. Here, just a little bit a view on our development, history development about the cyber security and cyber revolution, in particularly the key factors that we have in this period about the information. The key factor in this area in the 21st century is the information. And so the importance of the cyber revolution is the knowledge and the digital work era, and the global and virtual teamwork. About this global and virtual teamwork is very important to draw your attention on the condition that this teamwork must be driven and supported by the states, otherwise is taken and overtaken surely by the criminal groups. We have to allow through real investments within the states in order to have a global and virtual teamworks that are ahead of the discoveries done from the criminal minds in the domain, in the cybersecurity domain specifically. We don't have a single definition of cybersecurity, but we can try to say that the cybersecurity is englobing the IT security, the operational technology security, the offensive security. So, cybersecurity is for the protection of your resources and the disruption of the resources of the aggressors, as well as obtaining compliance with rules and security policies. Cybersecurity is not a new concept. It's a concept that is derived from military and governmental context, and is used, recently is used as a wider tag for IT security, information technology security. Well, you will know within the, the area of the cybercrime or cyber terrorism, which are the the general stakeholders, examples of activities, criminal activities, about that, the reasons of these activities and the effects. It's to be highlighted that is very relevant, the effects on the financial organization of the state. You can imagine if has already succeed, for example, with Swiss Post, that all the activities of a bank or all the activities, financial activities of states can be interrupted from these cyber attacks. Is a condition very difficult to be solved from the states and could have serious impacts on all over the world. The cybersecurity attacks generally have three main targets. The interruption related to a service availability. We have also the theft, the destruction of information or alteration for the information in order to generate some problems of disruption. And the improper or fraudulent service use. On the other side, we have some particular actions or activities, example given jamming or electromagnetic interference for the denial of service, for example, or the spoofing radio frequencies for the service staff. As suggested by national and international cybersecurity experts, these researches from an article of Andrea Rigoni, for example, published on December 2013, there are important aspects in the cybersecurity domain that must be evaluated. The first one is pooling and sharing, meaning therefore this that security areas are highly specialized and require significant investments. such capabilities will have to be integrated and used to serve all EU countries. So, from Italy point of view, now we are within the European Union since a long time. So, our perspective is to see not only in our country, but to see all over the Europe, but I could say all over the world is the importance, because going ahead with the automation and the remote control of the system and platform to defend, for example, Italian people, American people, we have to be sure that the system, these systems and this platform, wherever allocated or positioned, must work in a safe and secure way. After that, the creation of European standards for defense, public and the private sectors, so to harmonize in Europe all the activities and to have a reduce of costs also within each single states or member states of the European Union. The promotion of the information exchange on threats and incidents, helping the definition of the shared situational awareness at European level, but we can say also in this case we need the worldwide level. Conducting also another important aspect to be evaluated is to conduct a cybersecurity exercise at European level, also extended to the private sectors. All these stakeholders must be involved. It's important to have a real group that face these cyber attacks in order to avoid important consequences on our life and on our activities in the system. Last but not least point is the enhancement of civil-military cooperation in this field, that the cyberspace consists of the most part by infrastructures under private control, but we have to harmonize this, the concept of a public-private partnership together with the defense needs about in relation to the cybersecurity defense. For example, we will have just tomorrow I will be in Ferrara with the Italian Air Force, where we are participating as INEV directly to the virtual flag 2003 exercising, where we will simulate also flights with the authorization with unmanned, let me say, aeromobili pilotaggio remoto, manned drones, I would like to say, because they are manned, also from a ground control station in a remote way by a pilot. What to say about the cybersecurity and the European Union? I would like to underline that, for example, every year the digital economy amounts over about 500 billion euro real. So it's a big data, this one. To be considered, and so you can imagine which is the large interest to this material, to this matter. The number of cyber attacks are continuously growing, and not only the number of cyber attacks, also the tools used from the cyber criminals for the cyber attacks are always and continuously growing. We can say that approximately 50% of people on his computer have found a virus that is and so our computers must be defended from this particular situation. And this data is related only to European situation, not the world situation of virus. I would like to say that in the cybersecurity domain in Europe, we have some definitions also of the network, what is the cybersecurity. We have, they've instituted a critical information infrastructure protection, but it's important to know, I would like to point out that the United States are well ahead. Maybe on the within the cybersecurity domain, surely they had the tragic impact of the 9/11 attack in New York. And so it's normal they started from that day to work hardly on this. And they are working hardly not only at military level but also at civilian level with a large of investments in order to be always ahead the criminal minds in the cyber security domain. Cybercrime, also as for the cyber security at this stage, we don't have a single definition of cybercrime, and we can say that the cyber criminals are using a lot of tools to realize their cyber attacks. So in this case, I can anticipate that, for example, we need not only a reactive action to fight against the cyber minds, but cyber criminals. But we need specifically also a proactive activity in order to prevent all the actions from the cyber criminals. At European level, to conclude about the European situation, I can say that the European Council just this month, in December 2003, will deal with the security policy and the integrated European defense concept. This is very important because between the targets there is the possibility also to convene on the integration of the European defense system. This one, in my mind, my opinion is that it is one of the fundamental elements to have a really European Union, effective European Union, because the defense is one of the primary aspects as food and water that is needed to realize a union such as the European Union. On these slides, I have just reported, but you can say some events, some examples of cyber attacks in the world. Stuxnet, for example, done for the states, or two states, there seems to be United States and Israel against Iran. But I leave to you. And here there is another example of a recent flame virus. They provide a recent flame virus that is more complex, defined more complex than Stuxnet and Dogu. And this virus can record conversation, take screenshots, and connect Bluetooth-enabled devices in a simple way. So it's very dangerous for the security of our systems. What about Italy? The first thing to say is that, in other words, in a few words, we need to do a gap analysis, or in which to verify which is the condition of our state, to verify precisely if our country is enough capability to deal with the new threat scenario. So, and for this, obviously, in adopting and implementing rules and standards agreed at the international level, specifically at the European Union level. And we have published just at the beginning of this year, on 24th January 2003, a law, the PCM, at governmental level, where is not established for Italy, for example, as addressed by European level, a single operation a national competent authority on security and network information, but we have implemented just an operation center that is an advisor office of our Prime Minister at governmental level. And in this way, this operation center seems to be, or seems to act as a CERT organization having in the responsibility the management of incidents of national crisis, as well as the sharing of information between all relevant parties. The national CRT will report directly to the Prime Minister to the Ministry, of the Economic Development. We have created that. On this, just information of the recently information give us that we are modifying this specific law, including also within the ministers involved within this organization model that here is represented. Also our Minister of Infrastructure and Transport that at this stage, in this moment, is not included within the ministers involved. As cybersecurity, talking about cybersecurity, we refer obviously also to cyber terrorism. We have some general consideration of this, and we can say that transparency and trust appear as fundamental and necessary. These conditions must be implemented through a permanent exchange of information, extending the cooperation in the joint management of the crisis, especially in the Mediterranean basin. This one also is well referred to the situation of Italy. It is just in the middle of this area, and all the crises arising from the other states in the Mediterranean area are having a hard impact and a heavy impact on our state, on our economy, on our air transport, for example, because the Mediterranean basin is normally well interested from a lot of traffic, specifically military traffic, in order to defend the states and our country from some dangerous actions or activities coming from the other states, from the north of Africa and north of Asia. So, in this way, the management of cyber risk has to be considered a crossing-cutting task, normally, and indeed, the cyber risk is not stopping at the borders of individual states. Therefore, it is necessary to intensify the exchange of information and experiences, research and developments in this domain, I believe, all over the world, with all the institutions, national institutions and states in the world. Just a description, this one is get from Sursi from Bresi Group IT. We were talking before observing the reactive actions against the cyber terrorism and in the domain of cyber security. Here is just an example of a process, of a proactive approach to cyber security. At the end, we start from the fundamental elements or systems in order to fight against the cyber crime and in the domain of cyber security. After that, we have a description, description of the acronyms, of the advanced technologies that we are now available to fighting cybercrime as intrusion prevention systems on network access control. And after that, the lean forward. For example, network forensics and situational awareness technology can be very effective in quickly detecting and reaching to the first stage of an advanced target's attack. All this process is reporting that as part of the process improvement, it is recommended to focusing on high priority security processes and emphasizing improving the effectiveness of vulnerability management, control configuration management and programs, and incident response. This one is just to give a very short description on a proactive process approach to the cybersecurity. Now, if I don't want to be fired from my organization, I have to talk a little bit also of INAV, of my company, about the domain of air navigation services and the air transport. INAV, we are the Italian service provider, Italian civilian service provider for the air navigation services within the Italian airspace of responsibility. And we provide to all category of those users, and we ensure every day that all the flights in a safe and secure way fly in our skies. But not least, INAV also participates in the system of national security for the protection of the best interests of the public and the constitutional values, such as the protection of human life in flight and on the ground, collaborating on the ground, for the freedom of the movement, security, efficiency, and regularity of air transport. The regulatory framework at the international level in this domain could be considered an ICAO one with the Annex 17, or the document 8973 and document 9985. According to the Single European Sky legislation framework, we have also the Commission Regulation number 1035 of 2011 that is referred how the air navigation service provider must ensure their services, and the Commission Regulation number 73/2010 that is related to the integrity and the protection of the aeronautical data. We can say, in summarizing, that ICAO and the European Union define as mandatory for air navigation providers the implementation and the maintenance of a security management system and contingency process. Indeed, tomorrow and this period, I told you also before, from the beginning of December until the middle of December, we are working together with the Air Force in Ferrara, also in a NATO location, to verify together some contingencies activities in case of distress or particular activities as volcanic clouds or other needs. For example, transport in the particular conditions where, for example, with the airspace closed for the volcanic cloud in Sicily. This is one of the contingency scenario that we are simulating also with the virtual flight 2003 this year. I don't wanna bore you with the Commission Regulation contents of the 1035/2011. So the only things to say that this security management system to be implemented by the air navigation service provider has to ensure the protection of the systems and personal and the security of operational data very soon. How we have organized? We have, as INAV, we have a security centralized management through a security operations center. And with this security operations center, we have a continuous dialogue and interaction with ATS units and corporate, with the DIT and network operational centers, with the EU and the EU other air navigation service providers, and with our internal air traffic management and security department and other partners in the EU. The Security Operations Center cooperate with the internal and external subjects for the maintenance of the expected service level. So we use security to ensure safety. Security is one key element, continuously one key element to ensure the safety of our operations. If we lose our system, the operations could become not safe. Our systems indeed, are becoming always more complex, and they are as well interconnected so much that the related threats free can be disseminated, can be spread in a while in other systems. We can say not only in Italy but also in Europe. For example, we are well connected with the exchange of data, also with the network manager that I remind to myself is a Eurocontroller at present time. So, we have the importance for us also is the new technology and the importance that there is ensured a real defense, a real security defense through these technologies. And we will talk just in a while also about CESMA, this new technology program, European program for the air navigation systems, newer air navigation systems. Here, in navigation and transport, the lesson learned that we have the adoption of a strategy to react against multiple attacks that surely have reduced our defense capabilities because they are multiple, and the impact on the consequences on the segregation of the space when cyber attack, cyber terrorism is in progress.
1 minute.
Yes, I'm going to conclude. The other element I would like to say that is becoming always and always more important is the development of the drones, use or the drones activities. For example, also to defend or to make surveillance in the Mediterranean basin at this stage. And here we have a presentation of what a drone, or here is written as a menace that can offer to military applications and no military, so civilian applications. Also in this, from a service provider point of view, I can say that the full involvement from the beginning of the activity in a systemic way of public and private stakeholders will allow to prevent potential impacts on safety, driving from possible operational and regulatory problems and or security criticalities. The operation of drones in our perspective, procedures that I remind myself already established at ICAO level, they should not have a negative impact on the air traffic control service. So, I would like to about the drones, just going to complete my presentation, is that the cyber security and on the cyber terrorism domain aspects make necessary the definition of an appropriate strategy for the security of the entire network infrastructure, wired and wireless. We need to analyze and identify on time any areas of vulnerability and potential threats. Many thanks for your attention.